Whistle and a Clipboard, episode 40.
Welcome to the place where coaches come to listen and learn from one another. This is Whistle and a Clipboard, the coaching community's resource. Play ball!
I'm your host, Jason Oates. Are you ready to be coached up? Then let's get started. I'm thrilled to introduce my guest today, Coach Mark Adams. Coach Mark, are you ready to coach us up?
I'm ready to go, Jason.
So Coach Mark is a former assistant at Syracuse University under Hall of Famer Jim Boeheim. For over 20 years, he coached and trained in the scholastic, collegiate, and professional levels. He spent 16 years as a successful high school coach in North Carolina and Florida. Coach Mark earned a reputation for turning around high school programs and developing future college and professional players. Coach Mark worked and trained in the top camps, including Adidas ABC camps and Nike Skills Academy. So, Coach Mark, I've given our listeners just a little overview of you. So take a minute, introduce us, tell us about yourself personally. We want to get to know you. Then give us an overview of your coaching history and what coaches had the biggest influence on your coaching style.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first off, Jason, I'd just like to say I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be on your show. I appreciate you having me here, and I think it's a great thing that you're doing for all the youth coaches out there, and really glad to be a part of it. A little bit about my background. I grew up in Syracuse, New York, born and raised. Played high school basketball at Christian Brothers Academy back in Syracuse, and continued my collegiate career at another Catholic school down the road in Rochester, St. John Fisher College. I was fortunate there to play with some great teammates and great coaches, had a very successful career, and an injury prevented me from having the opportunity to play professionally. But that injury ended up being a blessing because I think it got me into the profession that I was destined to be in, which is coaching. I actually went to speak to Coach Boeheim about opportunities and getting into the game of coaching, and there happened to be a GA position open at Syracuse, and thankfully I took that job, and I think it helped pave my career for me, and very thankful to work with a Hall of Famer. But basically coached there 3 years, helping out with their staff, coached at the college level another year after that, and coached high school basketball, like you had said, in the states of North Carolina and in Florida for 16 years. And then after that, I think I found my true calling. The last 2 years, I've been committed to player development coach or a professional skills trainer, and kind of reinvented myself over the years, but really love the job that I'm doing right now. I think it provides me a great opportunity to help individual players and teams get better. So I'm happy to be here and share anything I can with you and your listeners.
Awesome. So thanks for that little bio, and it's cool that your journey going from coach. I mean, you're still a coach, but now you're just coaching the individuals, which within a team, sometimes that's hard to do. So I appreciate that. So here at Whistle and a Clipboard, we start every show by asking our guests to define the word coach, what it means to them. It's our way of begin to understand how you coach. So Coach Mark, what does the word coach mean to you?
Well, I think it's a very powerful word. And, for me, when I think about coaching, I think about, being a teacher. I think your best coaches are the guys and girls that can teach. And if you're a good teacher, I think you can become a good coach. When I think of the word coaching, I definitely think of a leader. Certainly coaches have to lead the people that are in that program or in that school, in that community. And certainly, without a doubt, coaches should be role models. So those are the kind of the three words that come to mind for me. And like I said, I think coaching, it's more than a title. It's a very powerful position that you have the influence over a lot of people's lives. And I think with that influence, you can do some great things. So coaching is a very powerful word and powerful concept, and there's nothing else I'd rather do.
Yeah, I really enjoy coaching. So it's just one of those fun things. And like you said, can't take it lightly. So I like to start every practice out with a thought for the day or a quote, since most of our kids are going to go pro at something else. So would you please share a thought for the day and how you use it with your players?
Yeah, I love that concept of having a thought for the day. And as you take your journey with your team, certainly, you're going to pick whatever quote or whatever words are appropriate for you and your team at that time. I love to pop out different inspirational thoughts and words every day on Twitter. And, some of my favorite that I like to pop out there. My mom, when I was growing up, said something to me, and I don't know if she said it exactly this way, but this is what I took out of it. But it's one of my favorite quotes. She basically said, surround yourself with good people, work hard, and good things will happen. And she always reminded me of that throughout my days in high school and in college, and it stuck with me. So today I constantly try to tell as many people as I can, surround yourself with good people, work hard, good things will happen. I'm very fortunate to travel across the country and interact with a lot of players. And whenever I speak to players, I always speak to them about three things. And the three things that I speak to them about are, number one, Jason, is get better. And, that's kind of my hashtag, my go-to. But I feel if you can get better, not just as a basketball player, but if you can get better every day, if you can become a better student, if you can become a better brother, a better sister, better father, better coach, just basically get better in all you do, that's a good day. The second thing is, and I think a lot of people take this for granted, but to have fun. Life is short, and you gotta value the time that you have. And as we get older, we start valuing it more and more. So for me, the game, most of the reasons why kids play is they love the game. So I want the game for them to also be fun. And then the third thing is, and it's a little bit deep, sometimes the kids don't get it, us older guys get it, just develop meaningful relationships. Even you and I interacting now and doing this little project together, after this, we'll continue to stay in touch. We'll be able to talk about the game, talk about our families, but simply the game of basketball and the passion that we have has brought us together, and it brings so many people together. So I constantly try to tell kids, get better, have fun, develop meaningful relationships. And if you can do those three things, I think it's good stuff.
Yeah. So I know that you've worked with some of the Duke players, and I grew up here in the Carolina area and a big, Carolina fan, Chapel Hill area.
Okay.
But
right.
It's one of those, just that whole sports is an avenue for different things in life. And those three things that you just talked about really are those different avenues that sports can help you build. So I really love that. And that's where the thought for the day comes from for me, because I'm a big Dean Smith guy. So,
hey, Dean Smith, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Absolutely, I have a great respect for him, and I love just the history of the game and some of his quotes. He has some of the best quotes, and I'll pop those out on Twitter and really, you look at a lot of these great coaches here. We're in a great area. You said it, this triangle area, basketball tradition. It's a great place to live and some great history. So I try to absorb as much of it as I can, but we definitely live, I think, in the basketball capital, and it's great raising kids here too. I'll tell you that.
Oh, definitely. So let's delve into our next topic, failure. At Whistle and a Clipboard, we realize we are all human, and to fail is to learn. So can you share with us a coaching failure that has helped you become a better coach, or helped your players become better in the future, or just helped you, period?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're always trying to find out, what we want to do. And often in life, we think we know what we want to do, and we pursue that. And then we find out maybe we're supposed to be going down a different path. And, one of the failures that I experienced that really helped pave my career is, I was very fortunate to be on Coach Boeheim's staff coming out of college. And at that point, I made up my mind I wanted to be a Division I head coach, and I was going to pursue that goal, and that's what I wanted to do. And throughout that process, I started realizing some things, and I didn't get a couple jobs here and there. And, those failures kind of made me reevaluate and think. And I actually, ended up I fell in love with my beautiful wife who, I didn't talk about my family in the beginning, but I've been married 18 years. I married up. My wife is wonderful, not only a beautiful lady, but supports and loves the game of basketball. I have two sons, Riley, who's 14 years old, and Logan, 11. But when I met my wife, and when we were engaged and we wanted to start our family, I actually went to Coach K and asked him advice, and he said, what are your passions in your life? And my answer to this day is still the same. Number one, my first passion is always going to be my family, and number two is basketball. And we started talking, and the next thing you know, we found out maybe coaching high school basketball was the way to go, because I could keep my family and spend time with them and still have the love of, the game. And, I ended up doing high school basketball for, I think, 16 years. And then an injury forced me to step down. And at that time, I thought that injury was a huge failure in my life. I needed to rest and get away from coaching. It ended up being a blessing, because in that time, I was able to find out that being a skill guy is really, kind of my calling and what I wanted to do. So, I've experienced some failures that I think have ended up really helped point me in the right direction. And long story short, sometimes we think we might know what we want, but we've got to trust and realize that our journey might end up a little bit different. But as long as you keep your priorities together, and in my case, family and basketball, as long as I have those two, it's a pretty good day.
Yeah. I think you're right. As long as you keep your eyes open and keep learning, keep expanding who you are, not just staying still, then those opportunities that come as you become more allow you to move into different things, and you create a whole nother enjoyment. But you and me are in the same boat. Like, family is first for me, above and beyond. I own a general contracting company with my father too, so that's my other job, but family is foremost and first in everything that I do, and maybe to the detriment of my career sometimes, but that's my choice.
And the right choice. And there's nothing better than, I think, sharing the journey with your family. And a lot of young coaches will ask me, advice is how, in the coaching profession, can be a very stressful and challenging profession, and we get so caught up in it. My advice to coaches and a lot of the younger guys out there is try to incorporate your family as much as you can into your coaching, and to do it the right way. So for me as a high school coach, I wanted my players to see that other side of me. I wanted them to see me being a dad. I wanted to see them, for them to see me being a good husband. To try to bring my wife along and have her, help out with team meals and be part of it and be a team mom, I think not only allows her to be part of it, which then she's more accepting of it and takes the journey with you. But what a great opportunity for the kids too. I think of being a high school coach and my kids being ball boys and sitting on the bench. And I think of my wife being behind and that support. And I also think that it was important not only for my family, but for the kids that I coached, for them to, once again, we talked about coaching and being a role model. You want them to see you not just being a coach. You want them to see you, being a dad and being a husband and being a family person. So for me, the more you can incorporate your family into your profession, the more, they're going to understand it and be a part of it. And when you share it together, the game has certainly taken me and my family to some wonderful places, and I love sharing it with them. So that's some advice I would give to some of the younger coaches out there.
Oh, that's awesome. And that kind of moves into our next segment, but the modeling part, I'll go back to that. It's definitely, if you model what you want your players to become down the road, not just in basketball, the modeling with the family and have them around, then, maybe one kid that you coached, maybe not come from a 2-parent household that was loving and fun. So he got to see that. And maybe that's what he wants down or later in life. And so that's really that modeling for your players, not just on the court, but in life, is so big. So I'd like to call the next segment the Fundamental Four. So Coach Mark, pick a skill that's essential to basketball. Break it down into the fundamentals of that skill so that we can help pass on your knowledge to our players.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to pick one that I think is just the most common one out there. And, for me as a professional player development coach, Jason, I mean, it's all about skill development. And for me, it's all about, does it translate? And I think we're in a movement out there where, unfortunately, I think that there's just a lot of stuff out there that I'm not crazy about, and I'm not trying to say I'm an expert on the game and skill development. But for me and for the people that I've been around, I really feel that if you can have skills that, everything's got to translate. So the drills that you're doing, all the work that you put in and the training, one of the most common skills out there is ball handling. And I just see a ton of coaches doing, a million different things. And I think a lot of times young coaches and even experienced coaches try to become innovative and creative. And I think sometimes we just need to keep it simple and focus on the fundamentals. So for me, for ball handling, for example, for me, I try to teach, just the basic fundamentals. And one of the best things you can do is when you're teaching ball handling, I think, is get a player in a great athletic stance. And this goes from my young players that I train that are 6 years old to my NBA guys. I want them in a great athletic stance, their head up, chest up, on the balls of their feet, putting them in a position where they're able to move and be explosive and quick. I do a lot of stationary ball handling. I'm very hands-on. I believe in a lot of hit and resistance, giving contact, giving resistance, pulling, pushing, trying to make the circumstances for that player harder than it would be in a game, so that when they are bumped or hit in a game, they can respond and go on. I think adding the element of live pressure and defense, certainly competing in anything we do in ball handling drills. For me, a lot of the ball handling, Jason, is footwork. I like to, instead of, doing things and that a lot of the guys are doing, I'm real simple, and, jabs and with the right foot and left foot and step backs, opening your gate, closing your gate rather, trying to create space and separation. And then I think especially for our younger guys is vision. And we as coaches, I hear coaches all the time, get your head up, get your head up. A lot of times the player's head's up. It's not necessarily a matter of their head's up. It's, do they have vision with their eyes? So for me, I try to constantly do things for my young guys, older guys, where I'm really engaging those eyes, and I'm making sure they're able to see, whether it's, numbers that I put up for a younger player, or, whether, I make a player in a high level drill, attack and read another player's hands. If the hands are down, they're going to shoot. If the hands are up, they're going to make a pass, so that they have that vision. But getting back to it, I want my skills to be able to translate. I think if you keep things simple, and if you work on those basic fundamentals, I think you're going to see players have better results.
So kind of to go with the fundamentals that you're talking about, can you help us out with like a practice plan, some drills that we can incorporate into our practices to run a better practice?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's especially with your younger players, you want to have, ball handling, and you want to have passing, and you want to have your practice plan broken down where, you're incorporating those skills. I think too often our youth coaches, and we get competitive, and I understand this, but, we're putting in zone defenses, and, we're putting in 15 plays for 12-year-olds. 12-year-olds don't need, 5 different types of zone trap defenses, and they don't need 15 plays. They need to literally learn just your practice plan should be, right hand pounds, 50 at the waist, 50 at the ankle, switch it to the left, crossovers, inside outs. You start off with the stationary ball handling. You work to some down and backs. You get different foot patterns, maybe where they're dribbling backwards, side dribble. Passing obviously is a skill I think that we've got to incorporate into our practice plans. Just teach kids the correct way to snap a chest pass, the bounce pass. That's one of the skills that drives me crazy, but so many kids today just float like lollipop passes out there, man. And it's like, you got to teach kids to snap the ball and to get it there. So I think the youth practices should be more about fundamentals, passing, dribbling, shooting, with your shooting drills. Start your kids in close. go old school, Mikan drill, right hand off the left foot, left hand off the right foot, a reverse Mikan. Start your shooting. There's a tray drill that we do, a one-handed drill where we start in close. It's amazing how many kids will step into the gym and they find that 3-point line. They just start jacking up shots, and it's like, how about you come into the gym, Jason, have a routine, do some stationary ball handling, do some passing, Mikan drill, tray drill, form shooting. But I think, if you focus on those type of skills, and every player should have a jump rope. And I know that's old school, and I'm an old school guy, and there's nothing. Get a jump rope for 4 or 5 minutes, even before you start your workout. Get loose, get your feet moving. But I think the practice plans, my recommendation for those coaches out there is do skill work with them. Do the fundamentals. Less sometimes is more. Less plays and zone defenses, and teach kids, I think, how to become fundamentally sound. I can't tell you how many players I work with that don't even know how to make a left-handed layup yet at the youth level, but yet we're teaching them a crossover inside out step back, walla kazoo zam move when, let's just teach them, left foot, right foot swing. You don't even have them dribble the ball. You put that ball on the left-hand side of the body and you tell them left foot, right foot swing. And, it's amazing that we're teaching kids all these fancy skills and drills and they can't make a left-hand layup. So I like to just keep it simple, teach the fundamentals. And what I find is if you teach those players fundamentals, they're going to get better. And I tell you, some of the high-level guys I work with, you still teach them every day. You put them through their workout, but you still teach them and you remind them of the things that are going to make them effective players.
Kind of reminds me of golf. You drive for show and you putt for dough. So
yes, absolutely.
and with the little kids and they want to get as far away as they can. And one of the things that I do, or I try to do at my practices is, all right, so let's say you have to be able to make 1 out of every 2 shots that you take before I think that that's a game worthy shot for you. And we discussed that with the little, my youngest is 7. But those kids, they want to grab the ball and go as far away as they can, and then they start shooting it from their knees.
Yeah. And killing their form. And the crazy thing is you'll watch them shoot 50 shots from deep, and they make one and then they go crazy. And you want to say to them, hey, you just missed 49 of those shots. Like, I just don't know if that's helping you get better. But they're kids, and we love them. And it's our job as coaches to bring them in and say, hey, here's what's going to help you get better. And, if we can give them kind of a plan and a purpose and keep them focused, I'm telling you, the basic fundamentals for players, especially at the younger age, and I take so much pride when I do my individual trainings with my young kids, is teach them those fundamentals. And man, when they learn those, they become such better players. And it doesn't matter what system they're in. Because you got to understand, a lot of the players I play that I work with are going to play in different systems, So fundamentals go with any system. If a kid can dribble, if a kid can pass, if a kid has good shooting technique as a young player, those things carry on no matter where they go. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I think is just stress those fundamentals, and if they get bored with them, switch up your drills a little bit, make them a little bit more challenging. I think competing is a good thing, So, if you have the younger players, maybe with the left-hand layups, how many can you make in a minute, or, and then they stop thinking about the boring drill they're doing and they're competing against somebody else. But, if you can trick them into doing those fundamentals and getting them better, that's the way to go.
Yeah, no. So as youth coaches, as we continue to coach, we add tools to our coaching toolbox. We learn from our failures and our successes. So, Coach Mark, what is one coaching tool that every coach should have in their coaching toolbox?
Well, without a doubt, and I feel really strong about this one, the ability to communicate and relate to your players. And, I think so often we get caught up in the X's and the O's in the plays, and really it comes down to basic communication, the ability to, I think simple things like I recommend for coaches before every practice, meet with your players. Have your practice plan there. They don't necessarily have to see that practice plan, or you don't have to post it, but just give them an idea of, hey, today, here's what the 3 areas of our focus is going to be. Give them the quote of the day. But if you bring them in and communicate to them kind of what your plan is and what the purpose is, it helps keep them focused. So just as I tell my players to always have a plan and purpose, I think the coaches, if they can deliver that plan and purpose to their players by communicating, bring the players in, talk to them. Don't be afraid to stop your practices or your workouts. And I know time is we're always stressed with time, and we got to get certain things in. But I think, the great coaches stop. You stop the player and you teach. And that's I think being, a good coach and communicating with them. The last thing is I think always bring your players in at the end of that workout and be honest with them. Look them in the eyes, communicate, and be honest. Don't tell them it was a great practice and a great workout if it wasn't. Be truthful with them and let them know what your standards are, what your expectations. But the piece that I think that's important is meeting with them before, stopping during, talking, communicating, showing. At the end, gathering them together and communicating with them. But I think the more you do that, the better you're going to be. One of the guys I look up to and I'm proud to call a friend is Coach K at Duke. And he has 3 systems at Duke. And his 3 systems are: number 1, communication; number 2, the defensive system; number 3, the offense. So if he has those 3 systems and communication is the number 1 system, I'm definitely going to listen to him and try to pass that on to as many of our younger coaches out there. Don't be so concerned about those X's and O's. Be concerned about communicating with your players.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up communication, because I think that is one of the biggest things that we overlook. And it's not just us coaches talking to them, it's giving our players a chance to ask questions so that we can make sure that they fully understand what we're saying to them within that, because communication isn't a one-way street.
Absolutely. And once you build that relationship with your players and they understand that, it goes both ways and we look each other in the eye and we can be honest, players then realize that they are able to ask questions. And we take for granted that players understand everything that we're saying, whether it's terminology or whether it's a concept that we're teaching. And when you have good communication with your players and it's an open and honest relationship, they feel comfortable enough to stop and say, Coach, hey, wait a minute. What do you mean when you say, pin down, or what do you mean when you say fade here? And we just take it for granted. But if the players don't understand what's being taught, they're not going to be able to get it. So I like that point. You say it's a 2-way street. And I think that if you can develop that type of relationship with your players where they know they can speak to you in front of the team in public, and then most importantly too, privately. And I'd like to just share this. One of the things I think that had really helped me when I was coaching at the high school level was I made it a point to meet with my players individually throughout the year. And like I said, I know often we're either teaching or coaching or working, and time is crucial. But if you can just, set up an appointment with schedule times with your players on your team to meet with them individually, bring them in your office and talk to them about anything. And it doesn't have to be basketball. Ask them, obviously what they're doing in the classroom. How you doing? Hey, I see you got a C in this class. What can we do to help you out there? You focused? Talk to them. Hey, how's things going in your family? Hey, I hear you got a girlfriend now. What's going on? Is she a distraction? And kid around with them, whatever it is. But those little individual meetings that I had when I coached, I miss those. I miss those because I think what happens there is the players start to see you care. And once they understand that you care, then, boy, you can push them even harder and take them to the next level. But I would recommend for youth coaches out there, have individual meetings with your players and talk to them about not just basketball, but what's going on in their life. Because if you do that, you're going to see that relationship will get stronger. The trust will get stronger. They'll see that you care. And I think you'll see better players and better teams.
No, I love that. So I know you said you're old school, but Coach Mark, in this ever-changing world of technology, is there anything that you use to help your kids become better, like a specific practice aid or a product like Coach's Eye, which allows you to take video and replay it in slow motion on the spot?
You know, I am an old school guy, and I'm actually pleased that we're able to do this interview over Skype. My wife actually had to help set this up for me, but you know, yeah, it's sad. I'm a dinosaur, but I'm learning. You know, as far as I think one of the best learning tools is video. So I'm trying to incorporate more and more of that into my training. And it's tough sometimes if I'm by myself. But even if you're doing a simple shooting drill, you know, with technology today, you know, I'm going to tell you, I've taken my phone and I've videotaped and I've said, hey, I've taught a drill, I've shown it. And then I've said, hey, let me just film you for 20, 30 seconds here. And then instead of continuing to try to teach that player a certain point and you get frustrated and they're not getting it, you actually go off to the side, you sit down, and you take the phone that you just filmed it and you show them, and you look at that kid and they go, oh man, look at me, I'm doing it. And then they see it. And then once they see it, it's better. You know, the film don't lie. And for years, coaches have been watching film with their players. But from a player development standpoint now, that's one thing that I'm finding myself I do a little bit. And I think it helps the players. They see what they're doing or what they're not doing, and then it helps you get to the next step a little faster. The other thing I'd like to just say, too, is and I think you're probably going to get into this, is just how some coaches I think can use technology to get better, and certainly I think we can cover that. But I've got a couple ideas there and things that I've done that have really helped me out. I
mean, if there's stuff you'd like to share, go ahead with it now. It's fine. You know, like you said, video. I use my phone, but I've even started taking my iPad if I can, just because the screen's bigger and the kids can see it better.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that I'll share, and I just think it's just a way to get better. And this is, you know, not necessarily with working with the kids, but just technology in general, you know. And I'm just going to say, like, you know, I tell some of the guys, because some of my buddies are some older guys that are some of the best coaches out there. And, you know, they'll tease me and say, oh, you're on Twitter, or you're, you know, doing this or that. Well, I'm going to tell you, and I was the last person that would want to, you know, use technology and do that. But you can really just learn and get better. I mean, just a simple thing like Twitter has opened up doors and avenues, and it's a gateway of information. But be selective. So I try to get some of the older coaches that, you know, I've been working camps with some of these guys and clinics all over, and all of a sudden, you know, I told one of my buddies, I said, hey, you need to just get on Twitter and you need to follow like these 5 guys. And I gave them, you know, 4 or 5 guys to follow, and they did it. And sure enough, the next time I saw them, they said, man, your guy puts out great information every day, whether it's quotes or whether it's drills. I mean, think about that. I mean, you know, I'm going to give a plug to my guys at basketball headquarters. You know, I've got a great relationship with them, but what a great resource they are. So you get on Twitter, you get on the web, you need a drill. I mean, any drill you want, and you can go on their website and you can pull up thousands of them. I mean, what a great way, instead of making phone calls and asking everybody, you just go online or you go on Twitter, you look at things and you pull what you need for your practice plan. So for me, and I know other coaches are, you know, have been doing this forever, but I've just used the simple thing of technology and getting on and seeing different videos and trying to use that information to help my workouts be better.
Awesome. So, coaches, you can find the links to this resource and everything else we've been chatting about in today's episode by going to whistleandaclipboard.com/Coach Mark Adams. So let's move on to our next topic. I would not be where I am today if I did not start reading books again. Jim Rohn likes to say a formal education will make you a living, but a self-education will make you rich. As coaches with constant innovation in sports and life, can you recommend a book or books you feel will help us become better coaches? It can be a sports-related book or a book from a different genre.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to say this is one of my weaknesses. You know, this is something that I need to do more of. I need to just get books and I need to read. Obviously, great way to get better and to help others get better. And, you know, one of my favorite books of all time is by Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman in the World. It's a short read. It's a great read, and it delivers a great message. And it's really about, the more you give, the more you're going to receive. Another one of my favorites, and it's a little bit different, but Coach K has one, and it's called Beyond Basketball: The Power of Words. And I recommend the audio. I recommend the audio more than I recommend the book. And a lot of times as coaches, we're on the road, we're traveling, we're driving. If you have the audio, pop that in. I think just when you hear Coach and his speaking and his passion just in his voice. But basically, the power of words beyond basketball is just simply him giving a word and then expressing how that word becomes part of his life and his team's life and his family's life, and how you eventually come to own those words, which he calls standards. So Beyond Basketball by Coach K, great read. I think an even better listen, the audio. And then my wife just got me a book, and once again, I'm probably a little late on this, but man, I absolutely love it. Jay Billis, Toughness and What Toughness Is. So the last couple of days I've been at home with the family before I go back on the road, and she picked that book up for me, and I've enjoyed reading Jay Billis's book and his thoughts on toughness. Some great stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I have that book. My wife, she said she went to Carolina too, so she said once you get past the first chapter, and that she really liked the book. So yeah. I haven't read it myself yet, but I think you hit on a key point there. Audio. If coaches are listening to this, then they like audio. But the audio books, I'm dyslexic, and transferring written into mind doesn't always work very well for me. So the audio books make a huge difference. But not just that, I can, as a general contractor, I can drive around going from job to job and be able to listen and learn as I'm in the car. So it's made a huge difference from me a year ago to me today. And I can't stress the audio part enough, because you can then add two things doing it at once, like yard work or painting or whatever, laundry, for the ladies out there and the guys that have to do their own laundry, that kind of stuff. Just, make the most of your time. And anyway, the audio helps. All right, so Coach Mark, I've truly enjoyed listening to your journey, and the stories you shared are inspiring. Give the coaching community one parting piece of advice, share the best way we can find you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Well, my advice to everybody out there, coaches, players, just people, those three things. And I said it before. Number one, just get better, man. Get better in everything you do. And, just saying you're going to get better, those are words. If you want to get better, you have to have a plan. You have to have a purpose. Be around people that make you better. If the people you're around don't make you better, find new people to be around. But, I think every day, if you can get better, and number two, have fun. Like I said, life is short. The game of basketball, if you go and ask kids, man, why do you play the game? Most kids are going to say because it's fun. And I think a lot of times coaches and parents can take that fun away. And we got to be careful with that, especially with our young players. Make sure they're having fun. You want to see that passion. You want to see them light up and love being out there on the court. So the third thing, man, develop meaningful relationships with people. There are so many people that come through our lives, don't just allow them to pass by. Develop relationships with them. Don't just exchange numbers, but contact those people, be around them. The more you give, I think the more you're going to get back. But if you can do those three things, and like my mom told me, surround yourself, with good people, work hard, good things will happen. I think that's some good sound advice. As far as finding me and keeping up with me, like I said, I'm based out of Cary, North Carolina. I do a lot of work here, but I'm also, pretty much all over the country with my travels. I'm very fortunate to work with players at all different levels, the NBA level, college guys, pre-draft stuff, high schools, AAUs. I have a lot of high schools, AAU programs that bring me in. If you're interested, you can contact me. My email is mark@markadamsbasketball.com. My Twitter handle is markadamsbball. I take a lot of pride in that. I try to pop out, 10 or 15 thoughts or ideas a day. Website, markadamsbasketball.com. Facebook, Mark Adams Basketball, and also YouTube channel, Mark Adams Basketball. So that's where you can find me and reach me. And if there's ever anything I can do out there for our listeners, please don't hesitate to contact me, and we can do this basketball journey together.
So, Coach Mark, our coaching community is well aware they can find the links of everything of value that we have mentioned in today's episode by going to whistleandaclipboard.com, clicking on the podcast tab, and they'll find you in the archives. Okay, they can just enter Coach Mark in the search bar, and your show notes will pop right up. So, Coach Mark, thank you for being so generous with your time, your expertise, and your experience. The coaching community salutes you and will catch you on the court.
Jason, you do a great job. Thank you for having me, and for all the coaches out there. It's a great resource what you're doing. It's a great idea. Really proud to be a part of it. Thank you.
Clipboard community, if you've enjoyed today's episode, head over to iTunes and leave me a rating and review. I really would appreciate it. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Jason H. Oates. That's Oates. Leave some comments if you got anything that you'd like to share. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them or just engage with you. Have a great day. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Whistle and a Clipboard. For more great coaching resources from the experts in their fields, visit whistleandaclipboard.com. Whistle and a Clipboard, the coaching community's resource.